The stars above the planet Vethar had gone dark. Not metaphorically, literally dark. The Kryvon Armada had deployed their signature tactic, shadow cannons that blotted out solar light, drowning entire systems in manufactured night. It was psychological warfare as much as military. When your sun disappears, hope disappears with it. Commander Kale Veron of the Galactic Resistance stood at the shattered observation deck of the defense station Lumenreach, watching what remained of his fleet. 17 ships. 17, against a Kryvon force of 400. His hands, three-fingered, pale blue, trembling, gripped the railing as another explosion bloomed silently in the void. Commander. His tactical officer, a young synth named Drea, approached with sunken eyes. The last relay from Coalition High Command came through. They're withdrawing support. Kale said nothing. He had expected it. The Galactic Coalition, that grand alliance of 43 species built over 2 centuries of diplomacy, was fracturing. The Kryvon had done this before. They didn't just conquer planets, they dismantled the will to resist. Species by species, they made surrender feel rational. What about the human request? Kale asked quietly. Drea hesitated. Still pending. High Command considers it inadvisable. Kale turned from the viewport. Open the channel anyway. 6 hours earlier, in a desperate encrypted transmission, Kale had done something no galactic commander had done in recorded history. He had bypassed Coalition protocol and sent a direct emergency signal to Earth's Human Alliance Command. It was, by most strategic assessments, an act of humiliation. Humans were the youngest member species, barely 200 years into interstellar travel, their military considered enthusiastic but primitive. They had no shadow cannon countermeasures. Their ships were slower. Their technology was, by every official metric, 3 generations behind. And yet, Kale had read the reports. He had studied what humans did at Kerrigan Station, at the Battle of Red Meridian, at the Siege of Proxima Outpost 7. He had read things that made senior galactic strategists call humans dangerously irrational. Kale called it something different. He called it hope. The signal came back not through diplomatic channels, not through coalition relay networks. It came through a direct ping on an emergency frequency no one used anymore, a frequency humans had apparently found, logged, and quietly monitored for decades. Commander Veron. This is Admiral Ethan Cross, Human Alliance 7th Fleet. We received your signal 43 minutes ago. We are already en route. ETA, 2 hours. Hold the line. That was it. No negotiation. No conditions. No request for authorization from the coalition. Already en route. Drea stared at the message. They were moving before we even confirmed the request? Humans, Kale said, and for the first time in days, something moved in his chest that wasn't dread. They were already coming. The Kryvon Armada's assault reached its peak at hour 7. 3 defense stations had fallen. Lumenreach was venting atmosphere from its lower decks. Kale's 17 ships had become 11. The Kryvon commander, a cold intelligence called the Architect, had begun broadcasting planetary surrender terms on all frequencies, certain of victory. Then the gravity readings changed. Commander. Drea's voice cracked. I'm reading, mass displacement. Multiple sources. Significant mass displacement. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel not at the standard safe distance of 40,000 kilometers. They arrived at 8,000, close enough that their transition shockwaves rattled Kryvon hull plating. It was, by every safety regulation in the Galactic Codex, completely insane. 41 ships. Against 400. And yet. Admiral Ethan Cross's voice came over open channel, broadcast on every frequency, including the one the Architect was using for his surrender demands. This is Admiral Ethan Cross of the Human Alliance. To the Kryvon Armada, You are engaged in the unlawful invasion of a sovereign inhabited system. This is your one warning. Stand down, or we will make standing impossible. The architect's response was almost amused. You are 41 vessels against 400. Your calculation is flawed, human. I know, Cross replied. We did the math. We just didn't care. What happened in the next 90 minutes became known across the galaxy simply as the VethAR engagement. It was studied in military academies on 30 worlds. It was called impossible, irrational, miraculous, and mad, often by the same analysts, in the same breath. Human ships did not fight the way other species fought. Galactic combat doctrine was built on calculated exchange. You protected your vessels, measured risk, preserved resources. It was logical. It was efficient. Humans fought like they had something to prove. Cross deployed his fleet in a pattern no Kryvon algorithm predicted because no galactic military had ever attempted it, a rotating spearhead formation that treated ship damage as acceptable input rather than failure state. Human vessels took hits and kept accelerating. They pushed through Kryvon kill zones rather than around them, using their own damaged hulls as shields for the attack craft behind them. And they talked to each other constantly, loud, chaotic, emotionally loaded communication that Kryvon intercept systems flagged as system malfunction. It wasn't malfunction. It was human coordination, instinctive, overlapping, trust-based in a way that needed no central processing. Bravo Squadron, their left flank just overcommit, punch through now. On it, Admiral Reyes, you with me? Right behind you, always. Meanwhile, Commander Kale regrouped his 11 ships and followed the humans in, not because Cross ordered it, but because watching them fight made something ignite in Kale's chest that had been cold for months. The humans weren't winning because they were stronger. They were winning because they refused to lose, and that refusal was somehow contagious. The Kryvon Armada, designed to crush morale and overwhelm resistance, encountered something their doctrine had no framework for, an enemy that became more dangerous when damaged, more committed when outnumbered, and completely, utterly immune to despair. The architect broke formation at hour 2. It was unprecedented. Kryvon commanders did not retreat. Retreat was algorithmically equivalent to failure. But the architect was a cold intelligence, and cold intelligences follow logic, and the logic was now undeniable. These 41 human ships have functionally neutralized our tactical advantage, and they are not slowing down. The Armada pulled back. Lumen Reach Station shuddered as the shadow cannon projectors shut down. Somewhere above them, artificial darkness peeled back, and VethAR's sun, pale gold, distant, beautiful, returned to the sky. Kale stood in the observation deck and watched it. He did not speak for a long moment. Then Cross's voice came through, quieter now, the battle edge gone. Commander Veron. You still there? Kale pressed the channel open. His voice, when it came, was rougher than he intended. We are here, Admiral. Thanks to you. A pause. Then Cross, with the exhausted warmth of a man who had just done something insane and knew it, you sent the signal. We just answered it. You were already moving before I confirmed. Yeah, well. A slight smile in the voice. We figured you needed help more than you needed paperwork. Drea looked at Kale. Her eyes were wet, an unusual sight for a synth, whose biology didn't support tears. But something very close to tears was happening anyway. Are they always like this? She asked. Kale thought about the battle reports. He thought about Kerrigan Station and Red Meridian and Proxima Outpost 7. He thought about a species that had been in space for 200 years and had spent most of it running toward trouble that wasn't even theirs. Yes, he said. They are always exactly like this. In the official after-action report filed with Galactic Coalition High Command, the engagement was classified as a statistical anomaly. 41 ships routing a fleet of 400 was not something existing models could accommodate. The report recommended further study. What it did not capture, could not capture, was the moment on 17 different resistance vessels when the shadow cannons went dark and the sun came back. What it did not capture was what it felt like to watch human ships take damage and keep coming, to hear human voices on the intercept channel laughing and trusting and refusing. What it did not capture was Commander Kale Veyron, standing in broken starlight, understanding at last why humans had no word in their military lexicon for acceptable defeat. They had simply never agreed to that option. 41 ships. 400 opponents. One sun, restored. History would record the numbers. The resistance remembered the feeling.